Awesome. So, welcome to our 14th Mentor Talk. Just a reminder of the purpose we would like to facilitate. We want to facilitate an environment of unity, critical thinking, service, community, and inspiration. And if anyone has any questions or suggestions, feel free to contact me with this information. If you have a mentor that you would like to see give a talk, also feel free to just let me know. And just a reminder of our guidelines, we'd love it if you all stay on camera. Please make sure you're muted while the speaker is talking unless you have a question. And please hold your questions until someone calls on you, or you can write them in the chat. So Mark, you can introduce her.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Jada. Well, I see there are plenty of fellow students here, so I don't need to explain Yana to you guys, but to my experience. So my brother and I have been studying with Yana since I think 2016. It's been a while, and for some crazy reason, she decided to take us to a music camp in Switzerland. Basically, became our makeshift mother there. That was an incredible experience, and I frequently took, master classes from her and performed in studio recitals, but I never actually officially joined her studio until 2018, I think. So that makes me both her oldest and newest student. It's very strange. But anyway, I just want to say that, Yana's been a very important mentor to me. 4 years, like half of my time playing piano, and she really has a crazy amount of patience. I used to be such a rage monster when I was younger. I still don't know how she put up with it, but I admire and respect that. So without further ado, I'll let her take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark.
Hi, everyone. So I know most of you here, but we're still going to do little introductions because we don't know Supriya Roy. Hi. So let me just, I'll share my screen later, I guess, when we're ready. But why don't you guys all quickly introduce each other to Supriya so we can know everyone's names, and just say a little bit about yourself and your involvement in music. And also, I would like to ask you about your dream. So the big question is, what do you want to be when you grow up? And this is something that pops into your head immediately when you hear the question. So without too much thinking, just quick answer. So take it away. Let's start with Benny.
My name is Benny, and I want to be alive when I grow up.
You want to be alive. Okay. And let's take this seriously, because this is a career talk, and in order for it to be very useful, we really need to dig in the next hour into what we really want to do. Okay, so jokes aside, just really pay attention to your inner emotions. Mark?
Well, yeah, I guess y'all already know me, and my name is Mark. I haven't exactly nailed down what I'd like to be when I grow up, but something in natural sciences would be very neat.
Mm-hmm. And Mark is a pianist. So since I am a musician, I would like you guys to share with me if you play any instrument and what kind of involvement you see yourself in regarding the music in the future. Okay, Nancy?
Well, I haven't nailed down it yet, but I think something in the medical field, and I play the piano and the harp, and I hope, just regardless my career in the future, music can always be with me.
Great. Nancy? Sorry, Mamie?
Hi, I'm Mamie. I also play piano. I'd like to be a writer when I grow up, but that might change. And like Nancy, I'd also like to keep music in my life, no matter what career path I choose in the future. Yeah.
Great. Supriya?
Hi, so my name is Supriya. I'm one of Jada's friends. But in my career, I might want to study something in one of the STEM fields, and I also have played piano and violin in the past.
Great, thank you. Haley, or is it Hale? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So I'd like to,
I'm losing the connection.
but I'd like to do.
Hallie, how about you just put it in chat since we can't hear you very well?
Yeah, for some reason the connection is not very good. You got cut off. Do you want to try it again or just? Okay, thank you. Vic?
Yeah, hi, I'm Vikram. I guess I also don't really have anything nailed down, but I definitely want to be some sort of scientist. Anything science or math related excites me. But in particular, something I guess like bioengineering or biotechnology, something that's yeah, current but also science related. As far as music, I don't have that much experience. I like to sing, but I never really played that many instruments. Got a guitar recently, so I just I like playing around with music, but I don't really have that much experience with it.
Great. Thank you guys so much. This gives me a great idea of my audience. So I'm going to start the presentation now. So give me a second as I share my screen. Need to make sure that everything is up and running. Okay, can you let me know by thumbs up if you're seeing? Okay, great. All right, so I want to open a chat as well. No, it's not showing it to me again. Yeah, I don't think I can open a chat while I'm doing the presentation mode. Oh no, here it is. There we go. Okay, we're all set. So the name of this presentation is Dream the Impossible Dream. And hopefully this title will really make you change your mind about the word impossible by the time we're done with this little lecture. So the way that I'd like to conduct today is really interactive, and I want you guys to really dig into your deeper emotions and thoughts. Not just listen to me, but think about yourself and how you can apply everything that I'm talking about for your own life. So even if we have people who are not joining in music, and want to be somebody else in this life, I still want you to apply all of those things that I will talk about to your life. So just to give you a little bit of information about me, I was born in Russia and I started playing the piano when I was 6 years old, and I got involved in a theater when I was 9, and I came to the United States in 95 when I was 14 years old. So because of my skills that I was able to obtain in Russia, in my childhood, I was ahead of my game when I came to the United States, and I was interested in a million things, and I'm sure just like you are. And I had to, of course, focus on something. And I think that's the really big decision is, what do you focus on? What are your passions? Where do you go from here once you have the skills? And for some reason, I cannot switch my, hold on, there we go. Okay, so for me, the problem was never lack of options. It was actually quite the opposite. It was choosing which road I wanted to walk on. And I never wanted to follow just one path, and I wanted to combine all of my passions into one. So just like many of you are facing the situation right now, is I had to choose my major. And at that point, I was told that I need to get all the degrees possible to be successful. So you kind of go the regular route, you apply for college, you choose your major, you finish, then you get another degree and another degree, and 10 degrees later, you're going to be a success. So let's think about, is it true or not? It's a really, really, really important question. And I was able to get scholarships, full scholarships to attend all my schooling. And therefore, I just kind of fell into music because the music paid for my education. And I went to Interlochen for my high school and then moved to New York City to attend Manhattan School of Music. Then for my master's, I did University of Southern California. And then for my postgraduate, I did a Colburn Conservatory. So a total of 4 fantastic schools. And one would think that, wow, you must be a success when you get out with all those degrees. So what path can you follow as a musician? And this is where I want you guys to either write it in comments or take notes, because this is where interactive experience comes in. Okay, I want you guys to really dig in. So what paths can you follow as a musician? Can you give me some ideas? Right in. So a performer, fantastic. What else? Instructor, teacher, yes. Anyone else? No, that's it? Okay, John Williams, composer. Okay, exactly. So you can be a film composer. Wonderful. That's great. So let me tell you about what paths I saw. You can be a chamber musician. You can be a soloist. You can be a teacher. You can be a church musician. You can be a recording artist. You can go into all kinds of music. You can be a conductor. And so there were so many choices that I really didn't know which one was the right for me. And what I realized is that I need to really focus on a very limited amount of paths in order to succeed, and I needed to focus. So what kind of careers are available? Well, we just talked about that. Now, considering that I wanted to do as many things as possible, I had to decide which degree program will be able to provide access to all of those paths, because of course college is meant for us to learn as much as we can in order to become professionally successful people. So what I learned is, after I graduated with those 3 degrees, I was 28 years old, I was then told by a music agent that I was too old by then to have a performing career. Now imagine how much of a surprise that came to me, considering that everyone at the beginning told me get as many degrees as possible. So this was a dilemma. Now with all of these degrees, I cannot do, or I was told that I cannot do exactly the thing that I went to school for, which is to be a performer. So I had to really think outside the box and create my own path. So what I learned during my schooling is that I barely got any skills to actually run a successful business. Because as a musician, you're not only a performer and all of those things, but you have a million other things you're supposed to learn how to do. And I wish someone told me this before I applied to be a music major. So I talked to a counselor at University of Southern California, and I said, can I study business and music, because I learned that I might want to have some of those skills. And I was told that it would be impossible because those business classes were meant for business majors, not music majors. And I had a dilemma again. So I had to figure out how to educate myself and how to find learn the skills that I needed in order to do my job well, besides performing and being a chamber musician and knowing a whole ton about music. I needed the skills to actually run a business. So I need you to think about right now, and please reply in the comments, is what skills can you think of right now that you would need to have that are outside of your immediate job description? So think about, let's say, being a musician. What else would I need to do, and what would my job requirements be? So please send me some comments. Yep, Mark, fantastic. You need to be able to market yourself, reaching out to concert venues. Exactly. What else? Anything else? Be a good actor, sort of. You're right. Absolutely. You have to, present yourself extremely well. Any other ideas? Okay. So performer is the obvious. Okay, so Mamie said you need to be able to build your own business and not be shy to put yourself out there. Exactly. So promoter. Now, Mark, probably tons of admin and organizing. Absolutely, 100%. So administration, organizing, exactly. So let's move on with the presentation here. What I have is, so as a performer, you are an artist, of course, you're a creator. And what I wrote down is yoga and meditation master. Now, why do I include this? Is because as a performer, it's not enough to get on stage and perform. You're supposed to learn how to be comfortable on stage, right? So there's a lot of training that you guys know about from studying with me that goes beyond just being a performer. Now, promoter, we've mentioned that a little bit. So you got to be able to put yourself out there and really promote your work and be really a salesperson for the art that you're creating. And those I find are very, very different two caps that you have to wear, right? Because as an artist, you kind of this creative free spirit, and as a promoter, you have to be a go-getter. Now, recording artist, engineer, producer, and social media expert. Recording artist. So you go into the studio, you work with engineers, you have to know how it sounds and what works. Sometimes you edit your own or record your own materials, and you should be able to produce it. And then, of course, you have to be able to share it on social media, which is another whole ball game. Accountant. You're doing your own business taxes. You're counting your own expenses, right? So all of that financial thing is on you. Web wizard. I update my website all the time myself. Why? Because I've tried it with somebody else who was getting paid for it, and I didn't like it. So I learned how to run my own website and build my own website and update it. Boss. Now, why do I say boss? Because you will eventually start as an entrepreneur, you will eventually start hiring people to work for you. And that's a very, very important skill to have for everyone out there, because you need to be able to really run a successful business by inspiring people to work well for you. Producer, of course, we talked about that. You need to produce not just only concerts and figure out programs, but come up with interesting ways to present your artistry. So you become a producer of shows. Fundraiser, of course, in nonprofit world and music world, or any other world that you guys will be working with that is more of nonprofit kind of work, you will always be fundraising one way or another, either your foundation or your organization or you yourself. Social butterfly. Now this one is very important. All the friends that I've made throughout my years have become my colleagues eventually. So you do have to socialize, you have to network with people, because every single connection that you make with a friend will eventually lead to you being colleagues. And of course, all of that sums up in the word entrepreneur. So I'm sure all of you know what that means. You do it all. Now, after I graduated and I realized that I cannot really necessarily get trained with all of those skills, not enough majors for each of these roles. Exactly, Mark. So this is exactly my point. There are not enough majors for each of these roles. So what are you going to major in? And if you cannot find the perfect major for all of those things, you have to learn it yourself, right? That's what brings me to the next subject. So whatever project comes to mind, you have to go for it. If it's not successful, you move on to the next idea. If it is successful, you grow it. And never be discouraged, because in every project that you will gain skills and knowledge necessary for the next one. You have to be an innovator and think of what hasn't been done before and explore it. And you have to ask everyone you meet for advice and to share their knowledge, and then pick whatever information you need and then leave the rest. So what I started doing is one of the things was live on stage tour. So this is just a classical music tour around the States. However, this was not enough for me. So I decided that besides just playing concerts on this tour, I also want to make a documentary. And I filmed everything on my tours. And because I was in very, very interesting spots around the States, I got really, really incredible footage and kind of behind the scenes of a pianist. Roland Corporation tour was very interesting because I was officially a first classical pianist who toured on an electric piano. Now, here's when everyone told me that classical pianists should never play electric instruments, right? We probably all hear it. Oh, it's not good enough. Well, actually, because I was able to open my mind to the idea, I toured, and really incredible opportunities came my way because I was open-minded and I did not take people's criticism, and I just went for what my heart told me. And I did some really, really incredible work with Roland that brought me, some fantastic publicity, success, and lots of fun and new connections. Artistic Voyage. So this I created. It was kind of at the time where there's still not that many events that combined different medias together. So we did an art exhibit and music concert, and of course social activity like drinking wine and socializing. Um, then I started Live at the Lounge, where we interviewed musicians and played a concert, and it was held at the Magic and Comedy Club in Southern California. And what that ended up doing is it brought people, the audience, closer together to the performers, and really made them get to know the people behind the instruments. So not just them coming out and bowing and playing a concert, but really having fun and interacting with each other. Similar idea was in Chicago. I started a streamed classical talk show called The Playful Talk. And all of those venues and ideas, I wanted to create something that was unique and different and hasn't been done before. So for Playful Talk, we actually did streaming, and comments were sent to the studio before it was even possible by Facebook or YouTube to send comments into the studio live. So we ended up having somebody tweet their questions into the studio and interact with us that way live during the show. But I had this idea, I had this vision. It wasn't possible at the moment, and then I just made it possible with a different way. And now, of course, everyone can do it. Now, here's the big question. Let's say you love so many different things. You're so passionate about, this and that, and then you have to make money. So the big question always is, do I make money or do I love my job? So my big question for you is, does it need to be one or the other? So I got my first job when I was 19 years old, and it was playing for a church. And church jobs sustained me for many, many, many years. I never called it my dream job, but it paid my bills. And I really enjoyed myself because I learned a ton, and I met a lot of wonderful people. I grew, I built choirs. So something that was meant to be just as a money maker turned out to be something that I really loved doing. Actually, it was same with students. At the beginning, I started teaching because I thought it would be a great financial opportunity. However, I fell in love with my students. And of course, now I'm super passionate about it. So sometimes you can take those money-making jobs and really fall in love with them. But I think what happens a lot of the times is that people looking for jobs, they look for, how can I make money? And that's it, right? Or then, how can I do something that I love, but it's not going to make money? So here we've got money on the left and love on the right. Now, so what happens is when you combine the two, you get to that quote unquote, the impossible dream. Because I think you guys would agree that everyone wants to love what they do and make a ton of money, correct? So is it really possible to have it all? Well, let's think about it. let's talk about your dreams. So you just told me, you want to do something in the medical field or scientist or whatever. Those are just one word, one kind of, big statement. I want to be that when I grow up. Now, I really want to take time to dive into this. I want you to close your eyes for a few seconds. And I need you to focus on what that quote unquote impossible dream looks like. What is your moneymaker job? And what is your love job? And are there any ways that you can combine them together? So this is something I want you guys to do at home. I need you to remember these two questions and really dig in and dive into what you feel is the right thing for you. And remember that what will work for others will not work for you. So I don't want you to listen to your parents when it comes to this. I don't want you to listen to your friends. I need you to listen to yourself and really meditate on it. Really dive into your own heart and soul and forget about what if scenario. I want you to just create that impossible, huge dream, considering that everything will be possible. Take the I am out of it. Anything is possible. So what I need you to do next would be, once you create this impossible dream, I need you to make a full list and figure out your weekly and monthly and yearly schedule. Now, what do I mean by that? What do you want to be when you grow up? And please write this down because I want you guys to answer those questions for yourself. You're not responsible to answer to me, but this will help you, guide you through some probably major decision making that you will have coming up in your life. So that's, you already answered. List your skills and your strengths. And when I mean list your skills and strengths, I mean everything. If you're great at running, write it in. If you're great at, making jokes, write it in. If you are a fantastic organizer and a really social person, write it down. What are your hobbies? Remember that part of your life is not just work, but things that you just love doing. So hobbies, what are your hobbies? What is your ideal work-life balance? Now, what do I mean by that is how much time you spend a week on work and how much time a week you spend on play. Why is it important? Because right now you guys are working really, really hard. You're preparing for college, etc., etc. But remember that studies and work is not your entire life. That eventually you will need to have fun and to be a really well-balanced and happy person. How often will you travel and for how long? So do you travel twice a year for a week? Or can you travel for half a year out of your year? Are you going to have a family, right? Those are important things. So let's talk a little bit about my husband, Andre. We got married and I don't know, 6 years ago. But his dream when he was a kid was actually to be an artist. And of course, his father, being a doctor and a smart man, he recommended for Andre to not become a professional artist, but to go into medical profession so that he can obtain a secure and interesting career. So Andre, of course, went to medical school and he became an emergency medicine doctor. And that was not enough for him because he decided that he wants to get a fellowship in wilderness medicine, which included wonderful expeditions by sailing, diving, mountaineering, expedition medicine, and etc. And he's also working with COVID patients during this pandemic. All of those things and that he learned how to do are very, very important for his career as a medical professional. So here's him during his COVID patient visit. And after he got his degree, the cat painting is amazing. Oh, okay. Thanks, guys, for your comments. So after he got his degrees, he realized very quickly that now was the perfect time to come back to his love for art. So what we did immediately was we went to Italy and we took a class in pottery making. And he also went to Florence for a couple of weeks to study how to be a painter. And he continues working on his art now all the time and became a freelance ER doc. And in his free time, he's doing art. So what I'm trying to explain to you is here how he is basically combining something that he makes money for and then he loves into one thing. Now, it doesn't mean that one job brings only money and one job brings only love. Both jobs can bring both, right? And what you have to figure out is what are your hobbies? Like, why did he get wilderness medicine fellowship? Well, because he loves sailing and because he loves mountaineering and because he loves to travel. So he found a fellowship that matched his passions and his dreams, and he got that on top of his medical education. So that's very, very important path to decide on, because you find the things not that you're only good at, but you're super interested in, and then you try to, combine it into your work and find ways to make money with it. Now, we both said no to 9-to-5 jobs and 2-week paid vacation a year. So we both created and kind of architected a dream schedule and a dream life that allowed us to travel the world while learning new skills all the time. Now, of course, sailing came in handy, right? He learned it for his fellowship, and now we can sail all around the world. This is me on a camel ride in Morocco. Now, this was interesting because when most people told us, how difficult it is to go traveling for a long time and etc., we decided that, for us, it was very important to have the type of jobs that will allow us to take off for long periods of time. So what we did is we gave up our apartment and we traveled for 3 months. I did some remote work, and he was able to stop his work because of the contracts that he set himself up as a freelance doctor. So if he got, let's say, a 9-to-5 job with a contract and a commitment for the whole year, this travel for 3 months would not be possible at all. So you have to design. What I'm trying to tell you is, imagine this vision. Let's say you want to travel for 3 months out of the year and see the world and get to know people and cultures. What kind of job can allow you this kind of luxury, can allow you that time off that you need? And those things are very important, because if you don't get to that point where you're able to have those things that you love to do, you're just not happy, right? And everything in life is about happiness. So, baby. I know you guys are way too young to think about babies. And I was 38 when I got mine because I was too busy traveling the world. And I was always afraid that having a baby will take me away from my career and the freedom that I had. However, we decided to architect our dream parenting situation, just like we did with our dream career situation, so that we can still have the flexibility and the time to be able to travel as much as we want. So now it's 3 of us and nannies. Nannies, nannies, nannies. Very important. So when COVID hit Chicago, we were told that the ER ran out of masks. And of course, my first response was to run away, hide out, hide my husband, not let him go to work, and just stay home and not see anyone. of course, that idea changed very quickly because I realized, that's not possible, and COVID is with us for a long time. So I got a different idea, and I decided to fundraise for getting masks to the hospital, because what happened is we learned that all the supplies to the hospitals were low on masks and PPE to protect um, employees and doctors and nurses. So I started a fundraiser on Facebook, and immediately it was picked up by so many people. Um, and NBC called me, and they said, "We love your idea. Let's do a little promotion for your project." And so they really helped with getting more people involved. So we got over 150 volunteers, and within 2 months, we provided over 8,500 items of PPE. Now, of course, people literally from all over the world stepped in to help us with this project, because there was such great need for this. And, we started from scratch. Now, when I was creating this project, I had no idea what I was doing at all. I had no experience of any sort with any medical field, but I just realized that with all the skills that I had as a pianist, all the connections that I had as a pianist, performer, organizer, entrepreneur, I can use it pretty much for any project out there that I set myself up for and decide to create. And that proved to be true because I had so much fun suddenly doing something that was non-musical for the first time. And I really looked outside the box for this project and, asked myself, why am I having so much fun? And I realized that really the most important part of the equation is to be passionate about what you're doing. And the passion doesn't have to stay the same throughout your entire life. The passion can change rapidly. The passion can switch. You can switch those projects. You can go on to something else. But as long as you believe in what you're doing and you're surrounded with that passion and that energy, people will join in and they will help you, and they will give you money, they will give you advice, they will give you your time, because they will start believing in what you believe in. So when I realized this during this mask project is I started asking myself, should I not be a pianist? And should I do something else? And this is when I realized that, what, maybe at the age of 40, I can actually redesign my career and not have music as my only activity. So road less traveled, very, very important. How do you organize your careers so that you can do all those things you love doing? Now that we spoke about the dream destination, let's talk about the most important part, is the road that leads to it. Because, as I mentioned, it is very important to be happy every single day. And that dream is a lifelong goal. So it is important to be aware of what your short-term goals are. So you have this dream, quote unquote, impossible dream. How do we get there? And every single day that you live and are present in today, that is what's important. But you need to construct it in a very particular way so that you can be on that road towards something, however, not make it the final destination, because it will continue to grow and expand and develop. So here's what I want your participation. Write down your short-term goals. So now we're not talking about the big dream. We're talking about short term. And I'm not talking about just getting into college. Okay, that's pretty obvious. You guys are all thinking about getting into college. I'm talking about short term other goals. And what skills do you need in order to be successful at those short term goals? Now the question is, thanks, Mark. Always adding some fun. Now, what college will get you there? And this is where I feel, a lot of people make mistakes. And I have to tell you this. It is kind of a very well-known fact that Ivy League schools are the way to go if you're very serious. Well, in my experience, that is not true because you are unique. Your path is unique, and you cannot fit under the same category as your friends will, right? So you have to really think about it creatively and based on those dreams that you personally have, and really look at colleges from a standpoint, can a college serve you? Not the other way around. Not, am I good enough to get into that college? Okay, that's the wrong assumption. Not, am I good enough, but can that college serve your dreams, give you the skills that you want and that you need in order to be successful? Remember that unless you get scholarship, you are paying for your education. You are hiring the school to give you that education. So it's very, very important to see the two sides of it, right? Not that the school is great, but also, is it good for you specifically? All right. So think outside the box, right? Don't do what your neighbor does. And only take about 50% of the conventional advice. Now, I told you before to always ask for advice. That's correct. But you have to always take only those things in that match that impossible dream. What's your short-term goal? We talked about that. What skills will you need to have outside of your job description? You need to write those things in. I already gave you an example of mine, right? That had a million different tasks I had to learn how to do. Do the same for your dream job. And what would the college of your choice offer you in order to achieve your impossible dream? Just talked about that. Now, here's an important question. What's after college? Right now, you guys are focused only on getting into a great school. Now, I need you to envision, that's your homework, what happens after college? This is really the most important question. To me, it's a lot more important than getting into a college. So let's say you have that degree, then what? Now let's say you got the job that you always thought you wanted. Then what? What does your life look like having that degree? And let's say you nailed a job as a research, guru at Stanford University, and now you're writing fantastic papers and doing fantastic research. Research guru, yes. Is that really your dream? And is that giving you everything that you want, or is there something that's missing? And if there is something that's missing, how do you obtain it? Where do you get that information to learn it? Or how do you balance your life in order to be successful in all possible ways of your life, not just money making and the job? So as we're coming to kind of a final idea, you guys comments. So the first thing that I want you to take away is dream big, the impossible. Because without that original goal that you've created for yourself, and I feel like you really need to clear out space in your heart and in your mind in order to really listen to your inner wisdom, because you all have that inner wisdom, and sometimes it gets distracted and interfered with by so much advice that we get from adults around us. Your parents will say, we think you should do this. Your peers will be saying, oh, well, I got the best SAT scores and I'm going to go to Harvard. All of those things are great, but they really are not great for you specifically. You need to really dig in and feel where your heart is, because maybe a smaller art college is the right way for you, because based on your passions and skills and etc. Now, always write down your dreams and check on them periodically. Now, I love finding those notes, when I moved to Chicago, I wrote down, like point by point of what I want to achieve. And after 6 years of living there, I found that list, and I pretty much checked off every single paragraph that was there, and it felt incredible because sometimes when you're struggling to get somewhere, you kind of lose that picture of where you were before and where you are now. And when you write things down, sometimes you don't even notice how you end up achieving all those dreams you had. So those are always good to keep and check on them periodically. Take time to redesign your dreams. So again, we talked about that. And again, that dream will be always changing and always shifting. So you need to revisit it sometimes. Like right now, I have to redesign my entire dreams because we just moved to a new place. Here I am so inspired with the mask project that I'm rethinking of what's next, and I'm almost 40 years old. So even at 40, I'm still redesigning everything from scratch. Network, be a social butterfly, right? So remember that all of your friends will become your colleagues. Ask for advice and consultations. Think outside the box. And this is important. If the position you want doesn't exist, create it. So this has happened to me many, many times. Remember the time when they told me that I was too old to become a performing artist? Well, for their company, I was, but not for my own company. So I was able to create my own opportunities by staying positive and saying no to no or to refusal, rejection. This one is important. Double or triple major. Okay, don't sacrifice anything. You guys can really do it all. Changing career path is never too late. Talked about that. And find a way to combine all of your passions into one life and don't sacrifice. So that's Andre's example, right? He wanted to be in medical field, but then he didn't leave his art behind and found a way to even make money with art. So, and the most important thing is don't forget that life is too short to only be working, and that you need to really enjoy every single day and find the perfect balance of life, so that those impossible dreams are possible. And always keep in mind that your whole life ahead of you consists of every day. And if you wait to have fun till another year, then you might miss out on some great opportunities for living. So that's all I have for you guys. And we will open it up for questions. How did you jump that high? So this was on the dunes and we jumped from the top down. You guys can unmute yourself and let's open it up for some questions. No questions?
I have a question. So I was just wondering, wait 1 second, okay. I was wondering, how did you, since you had so many interests, how did you find was the best way to combine them? Because I feel like a lot of my interests are in one spectrum or the other, and I think you've done a really good job of combining them. So how did you go about that process?
So, it's a process that takes a really long time, because I think what's important to figure out at this point of your life is what is the best education you're going to get. For me, looking back, I think that getting 3 degrees in music was not the right choice, because I wish what I did is, I should have majored in, let's say, I don't know, business. I should have gotten an MBA. I should have learned languages, because as a traveling performer and artist, you need to speak the languages, right? And somehow it's not part of your curriculum. Everyone just says, well, you should be, playing the piano and learning about history of music. you have to really look at, of course, you guys have college ahead of you, and that's really at this point the most important decision. Um, but I think you have to find ways, like for example, double majoring. Can you double major? The degree that you're getting will allow you the opportunity to learn things outside, and will give you enough time to actually spend on learning all those other things. Now, especially now when everything is online, I think those things become even more possible, because you can take courses that are outside of your college. And just so what you have to figure out is which ones you learn in college and which ones you learn outside of the college. Don't count for college to give you all the skills that you need. It's not possible, right? So you just have to kind of look for it. And that's exactly what I did. While I was attending, my master's degree, I ended up taking all these courses in fundraising and entrepreneurship and all this other stuff, so that then I could just use all of that and really use it as a business model and etc. And then I said, okay, years down the road, I said, I love theater. So now I'm doing a project that combines theater and music, and storytelling and all these other things. But it's, you never want to put anything on hold necessarily. You just want to kind of like, prioritize in the right time. So at this time, I'm going to focus on, let's say, music. And then a year down the road, I will prioritize something else. But you never let go of all of those passions. So you kind of juggle them together, and then eventually try to build, I can be more specific if I talk to you directly. So maybe that's a conversation, and I would love to, maybe give you some ideas. Like, that's why I want you guys to write down your own things. Is when you know the list of things that you love, then it's much easier to start, shaping and architecting that final result, because then you can really dig in and say, okay, what can I do with all of those things together? What jobs will match that, and what college degrees will match that? Okay, let me see. Sorry, I know you touched on this, but a bit. But as far as mindset goes, how did you overcome and move forward from failure or significant obstacles? Thank you for that question. So failure, it's I think we all have to get used to some kind of failures. You guys will get rejections from colleges, I'm sure. You will get rejections from work. You will get rejections everywhere, in your personal life. The way that I really started feeling lately is, and I think it's because of my spiritual journey, is that everything happens for some unknown weird reason, and I really started believing in that. So if I don't get a job, or if I don't get promotion, or if I don't get this and that, I just trust that that's the way it should go, right? So I don't consider failures as failures of my personal knowledge anymore. It's a failure of, it's not the right thing for me at the moment. It might be the right thing for me later, but not at the moment. So I think trusting the fact that, considering that you're doing the best job you can at whatever you're doing, everything else, just trust fate. I don't want to say God, because that's a big, uh, it's a big question, not question, but big subject. But trust yourself, and trust the fact that your road and your heart, and your passion will lead you to the right place, even if you get rejected on the way. And even through obstacles, you learn so much when things fail, that I think the only problem with it is your own expectation. If you expect something to go a certain way and it doesn't, that's when it feels like a failure. If you're open-minded about the result, then it's a success. Um, if anyone wants to attend future month to talk, okay, oh man, wake out, okay. All right, do you guys have more questions? No?
I guess I could ask another question. Um, when you look back at your past, you said you wish that you did more majors in business and other types of things to help you be your own entrepreneur. But in terms of focusing energies, what is like one biggest piece of advice that you would give your past self when you were trying to figure out what you wanted to do, besides like second to like studying more business and stuff? Like, what else is the biggest piece of advice?
I think, what I just mentioned in terms of confidence, I think it's very easy to get discouraged because when we're young, we're not confident enough in our choices and also in our how good we are at something. And I think it's a huge, huge mistake because, at this age, you are already so passionate and so good at so many different things. And you have to really trust that and have confidence in yourself because, for me, every time somebody told me something negative, I would just it would really set me back. And now that I look back, I was like, I was always ahead of the game. Don't listen for adults like they know everything. Because I listen to adults, and when somebody, like, let's say, I remember meeting this record producer in New York, huge record producer. I mean, this guy has produced millions of records for super famous people. And he told me at some party that the recording industry was dead and that there's nobody out there who plays music anymore, just like they did 20 years ago. I believed him back then. But then I met him 20 years later and I had that conversation with him. And with all my confidence, I told him, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. It's not that there's nobody out there doing this. It has changed, it has progressed, it has, evolved. And just because you cannot be on top of the game does not mean that the business is dead, right? So that's the important thing. That's what I mean by confidence. Don't be afraid of, you know, those adults who would give you advice and, you would think that that's the way it is. A lot of the times your intuition and your vision is actually more accurate. So I wish I was stronger back then to believe in what my passions were actually work, and not be discouraged by the things that people told me. So I think really you guys all have really deep energy and strong desires to do things. Just stick with it. And really, that's why I said only listen to 50% of conventional advice. Okay, just go for it 100% for what you believe in. Anything else?
I wanted to ask Yana, because I know you went to Interlochen when you were quite young by yourself. So I wanted to know how you learned to be independent and, learn all this on your own, basically, not just as a performer, but as a manager, as an entrepreneur, everything, and is mostly through your own um, learning.
Well, I was always very curious. And, when I was 16, I mean, at Interlaken, it was very easy because you just go there and you're told what to do. You just do the right thing. You show up to classes, you do your homework, you practiced a lot, and, you were really guided quite a bit. So I cannot say that I became really an independent thinker when I was there. But when I got to New York when I was 18, that's when independent thinking really started. And again, I followed my intuition. I really wanted to learn. I was really curious. The curiosity was really the driving force. I said, can I do this? Can I do this? And I was working nonstop, talking to people, asking them questions, trying to figure out the situation, and never taking no for an answer, really. Because even when I was discouraged, I would pick myself back up and, keep knocking on somebody else's door. If this one wasn't opening, I would knock on the other door and just keep reinventing, you know. And if people didn't think that what I was doing was good enough for them, then I went somewhere else. And then the other people thought that it was excellent and best thing ever. But I think this independent thinking, and you guys all have it. You know, I know most of you, and I can see from the serious faces of Supriya and Vic that you guys have it too. You know, and Jada, of course, she's the crazy entrepreneur here. But you know, just curiosity, I think, really is the most important thing, and just ask questions, do research. Right now, everything is more available. I mean, you can get all your answers online, right? Any questions you have, you can find the answers to. And for me, I had to really dig in. Jada is the coolest. I really had to dig in and find the answers everywhere I could. You know, don't be afraid to reach out to people like, you know, famous people who might be your role models in the business, because you'll be surprised how much they love to give advice and talking about themselves. You know, so if you call somebody up and say, hey, you know, I love what you're doing, can I get advice? You will probably get a yes for an answer. And if you don't, if you get a no for an answer, ask again and again, and then finally they will not refuse you anymore, you know. So okay, you guys keep commenting, and I am looking for good questions, and you're just socializing. Okay. Anyway, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think we should bring the talk to a close because it's 3:03. But thank you so much for coming here and encouraging us all to dream the impossible dream and giving a super inspiring talk. It really inspired us all. So thank you so much for speaking. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. And all of my students, I expect your you know, answers in writing sent to me by email. Thank you guys so much for having me. Jada, this is wonderful that you're doing this for all your fellow artists. So you're already doing the impossible dream.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I will actually write everything. I took notes. So, all right. Bye, everyone, and see you next week.
Bye.
Thank you.